This is Tetris in 3D. During the pandemic, I found out that something called competitive Tetris exists. Seeing people absolutely obliterate this game was pretty cool, and I wanted to create a similar experience in 3D.
Here we go!
Before heading into Unity, I did some planning. I started by listing out my goals, a Moscow chart, and the steps I would take to make the game, along with a sprinkle of distraction.
Dude, how do you do that?
Since this was a smaller project, I would give myself 7 non-consecutive days to do the following. Make the mechanics, turn it into a mobile game, add a game loop, closely emulate NES Tetris, implement a shop system, and use online leaderboards. With my whole project planned out, what could possibly go wrong? I first started out by creating each piece, or tetromino, with a handful of cuboids. Then, I moved on to the play area, where I used a pretty neat trick. I then smacked the spawn point to make pieces spawn and coded some gravity using this line of code. After making the pieces a bit more vibrant, I made a next box where you can see the next piece about to spawn. Unfortunately, our pieces don't have any collision yet, so I started with floor collisions, which I made on my first try, and made the UI look a little nicer. I finished off day 2 by adding piece-to-piece collision, which I also did on my first try. And just like that, we had a prototype well in the works. At this point, I was feeling really confident. I was sticking to the to-do list I meticulously planned for, and progress was coming pretty fast. What could possibly go wrong? On day 3, I implemented something known as DAS, or Delayed Auto Shift. When you hold down a letter on a keyboard, there's a slight delay before that letter is spammed, or an auto shift. Apply this to the movement of the pieces, and we have a system that somewhat emulates NES Tetris. I also implemented a top-out system so you can actually lose the game, which I once again did on my first try. Then, I implemented piece-to-piece collisions, so other pieces can't go inside each other, on my first try. I spent the rest of the day fixing a bunch of bugs before taking a break on the project to work on this game dev video. I make more game dev content like this, and if you've watched up to here, subscribe so we can get 20k subs and 100x my sub count I had last year. So far, 4 days have elapsed, and this is the project so far. I definitely wanted to be further along by now, but making Tetris is deceptively difficult. I want each feature to work flawlessly, but this causes bug fixing to take up a big portion of my time. We still have 3 days to smash this game out of the park though. What could possibly go wrong? Alright, we're back in business, and I started the day by making fixing more bugs. This took almost an hour, but the bugs are fixed and you can now rotate the pieces on one axis. But hold up, this is 3D Tetris. You should be able to rotate the pieces on all axes. So after researching the controls people use for other PC Tetris games, I decided to use these keyboard keys based on the 3 axes mentioned. Let's test it out.
Holy crap, dude. This is so confusing.
This is awesome, but I don't like the fact that the camera stays completely still. Let's drag the script onto there and
let's play some 3D Tetris. Oh my gosh. This is so weird, dude. No! No! Oh man, this is so funny.
Now the game is a lot more dynamic, but the WASD keys aren't based on the camera's rotation. I didn't think this would be difficult to fix, but as I dig deeper, I realized that this would require lots and lots of math. So much to the point where I realized
it's like a 3-dimensional sine wave, isn't it? I think this is actually a sine wave. What the fuck?
Based on the forward direction of the camera, the value of the piece's x-coordinate are a sine wave, with the y-coordinate being the cosine. This is giving me PTSD from school. And unfortunately, although making the forward input was relatively easher, the other keys—
How do I do this? How do I do this?
Were quite a hassle.
I literally can't do this. Can't do this. It's like the game doesn't work. Other way, maybe? Can't figure this out. It's wasting so much time, but I can't figure this out. No!
Thankfully, a good night's rest allowed me to fix the bug within 15 minutes of the following day, meaning I can move on to— you obviously can't have a Tetris game without line clearing, and this should be pretty easy to make.
Okay, so we're about 5 hours into the day, and we've made one thing. This always happens. We have 8 hours left.
I'll admit, it is really demotivating to see me put in the hours and not really see results. Well, we have these fundamental mechanics implemented, and the final thing we need is score, which works a little weird with line clears. In NES Tetris, the type of line clear you score determines the amount of points you gain, where a Tetris worth 1200. So after spending yet another hour detecting these differences in line clears,
yes!
I hooked him up to the score and
yes! Yes!
Then, I made a game loop by restarting the game whenever the player loses and playtesting to see my work in action. Afterwards, I looked at the points I needed to address, which starts with the board being 3 miles wide. It's pretty much impossible to score any kind of line clear, so I shrunk the board to a much more manageable 4x4 base.
Yes!
Next up, ghost pieces. Because of the orthographic camera, it's difficult to tell where the piece is gonna land, something a transparent indicator can solve. However, I get these really awkward overlaps, which I soon found out could only be fixed by diving into shaders. What is this alien language? This is gonna take so long to figure out.
Hippity hoppity, your code is now my property. Good stuff. That is promising.
That concludes the end of day 6. My initial goal was to make this a mobile game in 7 days, and looking at my progress, that's just not possible. At least I got something done on my 10-hour workday. I started day 7 by fixing more bugs. Then, I went to school where I had a little surprise from my classmate.
Don't worry, I've done all my homework.
Alright, what do I do?
𝗗𝗘𝗦𝗬𝗧𝗥𝗜𝗕𝗨𝗧𝗑𝗏𝗏.
What?
Alright, let's play.
Okay. I'm just gonna let it fall. It rotates. This is fine. What am I doing? I think I've lost all chance of actually doing something with this. This is awkward. The whole thing rotates. You can't really see where it's going. My reviews, it's extremely difficult. Like, you can't really tell where you're going. So yeah.
Based on his feedback, I determined that the pieces should have subtle animations to emphasize the direction. Anyways, I tried playtesting the game with another classmate. This would serve as a proper test to see how good the game is.
𝗗𝗘𝗦𝗬𝗧𝗥𝗑𝗕𝗨𝗏.
Alright, this is cool. So we just rotate it, but I'm trying to struggling. Oh shoot, I'm definitely about to lose.
What is your feedback?
Very hard.
So, I just played the game with my classmates and the game sucks. It's literally unplayable. The controls are too difficult, it's all so confusing, and although it is a little demotivating, the good thing is we caught this early in development. Yeah, from here, I guess I just prototype. Let's get to work.
First, I tried diagnosing the problem. In my classmates' playtest, the rotational keys were way too confusing. Having 6 distinct inputs for one mechanic in the game was just inefficient. Therefore, I tried researching successful games. I found a 3D Tetris game for the Nintendo Virtual Boy, a Flash game called Blockout, and a 3D Tetris project by 𝗗𝗘𝗦𝗡. The last one was especially interesting. It was a big inspiration for this project as I wanted to expand on its works, and his idea of a drag-to-rotate system was ingenious. I, however, wanted to find my own solution to the problem instead of just copying his mechanics. 30 minutes went by and I still didn't know how to solve this problem, but then it hit me.
So, my theory is I can select one of these sides in the Tetris piece and then rotate it this direction. I believe it'll make the controls a lot friendlier.
The following day, using Unity's UI system, I tested my idea. I actually think this could work. Right now though, it suffers from bugs. Thankfully, those shouldn't take too long to fix.
I like coding, guys. Coding is so fun. I never run into any problems because I'm such a great coder.
After fixing up more bugs, I decided to play test the game with my sister, which was pretty fun.
What is this? That's good. That's good.
You got this. You got this.
Please, please, please fit. Bruh, I messed up. No. No.
You scored 0 points.
Unfortunately, I was already 2 days past my deadline and nowhere near my initial starting goals. So I redefined my standards of what I wanted this final product to be. After a quick playtest session, I wrote down some suggestions and started improving the first mechanic. The pieces were too sticky. Next up, I tried making the rotation more forgiving by pushing pieces out of the wall instead of disallowing your rotation, which I did on my first try.
Not gonna work. I know it's not, man.
Wait, I actually did it on my first try? On Saturday, I implemented soft and hard drop so that you don't have to wait 10 years before your piece falls. I also made a way to rotate your camera up and down, fixed more bugs, and playtested the game, all of which took 2 hours. 2 hours.
I just wanted to do more today, man. I wanted to have a main menu system, polish done by now, have a shop system when this game was over. I believe this is already like day 9 and the game is barely a game. It's just a prototype, but I feel like I'm putting in the effort and I'm getting like nowhere.
This really sucked. It genuinely felt like I was stagnant. Disappointed, I tried cooling off by playing some basketball. Upon return, I fixed more bugs, made score based on your current level, redefined my standards yet again, and overall just felt more productive. I have to remember though, this was supposed to be a small project. I'm already 4 days past my initial deadline. Being that today is a Sunday, I have to finish this.
Okay, so it is currently 7 a.m. It feels like I've done as much as I did yesterday in like an hour and a half. That feels awesome. But I'm gonna have to go for half the day. I have a little background pattern over here. This will be overlaid on the game so that the game is not just a black screen. We're gonna see how it goes.
Unfortunately, my computer ran out of battery and I couldn't return until I was back.
Final hour and a half to focus. Let's do this.
With my limited time left, I made a main menu and a level select screen, emulating that of the original NES Tetris. Now there's one giant problem with the game. There's no music. I was originally hoping I could use the original Tetris theme, but after a quick Google search, there's a chance I could get sued. So instead, I downloaded 𝗏𝗂𝗧𝗏𝗢𝗏 and made this.
I think my best bet is to just finish everything today. Let's get back to polishing. I gotta keep pushing. Okay, let's do this. I'm happy with this. 3, 2, 1. Yeah! I'm gonna go to my closet. Okay, so what did I learn from this project? I wanted this project to only take 7 days. It ended up taking, I think, around 11. And I didn't even reach my initial goals and expectations. I think the big thing I learned was to not be a perfectionist. Today, I just felt a lot more productive. And since I did polishing with particles and the screen shake, the music, the sound effects, all those little details kind of added up. And yeah, the game's not perfect. Yeah, there's a million bugs. But the important thing is, I'm okay with that. I think there's a difference between striving for excellence and being a perfectionist. Because with being a perfectionist, you kind of care what other people are saying. When you strive for excellence, you just want to do your very best. I just gotta learn to let go of being a perfectionist.
I ended up finishing the game the following day after giving up on bugs I just couldn't fix. I wanted to do more of the product, but in the end, maybe it was about the journey. And if you like this video, chances are you'll also like this video, where I made my first few bucks from my mobile game. I know you have the time. One more video can't hurt.